with you in a separate email or a different call. So today's session, we're going to talk about how to get to Seesaw. We're going to talk about creating your account, setting up your first class, adding work and activities, accessing additional PD and Q&A. There's a lot on this agenda, so we'll try to get through it as best as we can. We have about an hour to do this. So we will go ahead and get started. So to get to Seesaw, one of the things that I think makes Seesaw really good as our universal platform from pre-K to 2 is that it's available pretty much anywhere you can get on the internet. So if you're on your laptops, you can get there. If you're on an iPad or an iPhone or an Android tablet, just about anything that connects to the internet, you can get to Seesaw. And so if you're on a Chromebook or a web browser, you can open a new tab and go to app.seesaw.me. And we're going to do that right now. And again, I have a link on my session resources on my website. And just click right there, it'll bring you there. But I'm going to open a new tab and go app.seesaw.me. And here we are on the website. If you're on an iPad or an iPhone, you're going to go to the App Store. You're going to search for Seesaw and look for this icon. That's the Seesaw logo. And you should say class underneath. Same thing if you're on an Android phone or an Android tablet. You're going to search for Seesaw and look for this icon. And once you're in the Seesaw app on your mobile device, you'll see it looks very much like the website that I just had up. So this is my iPad. I've got it connected to my laptop so you can see that screen as well. Now, one thing, if you're on a mobile device, like an iPad or an Android tablet, there are actually two different apps. The one that you're going to use to teach is Seesaw Class. So your students will also use that. And then there's one for Seesaw Family. And that's going to be ones for parents and relatives to see the work that their children are working on in your class. So just keep that in mind, that there are two Seesaw apps. You're going to want to use the one that's called Seesaw Class. So let's see. So we're going to get started with logging into Seesaw. It's very simple. Again, you can see here that everybody on you and your students are going to see this. And obviously, you're going to choose I'm a teacher. They're going to choose I'm a student. Parents can use this option. This one is for if you're on the laptop, you see this option. If you're on a mobile device, you have to download the separate app. So we're going to go I'm a teacher. And I don't think you even have to have an account set up just yet. You can use this option, teacher sign in with Google. I would definitely use this option. I wouldn't go ahead and enter anything up here. I would just go ahead and say teacher sign in with Google. And that should make it so that when we have access to the paid version, that it will link in pretty easily. So I'm going to go teacher sign in with Google. And I'm just going to use my email address. And pretty simple here. I'm actually going to do something real quick. This is not what you're going to see if you're new. So I'm going to actually delete this class that I was playing around with earlier so that you can see what it will look like. So if you get logged into Seesaw for the first time, this is what your screen will look like. You'll see it'll say create your class. And you have the option to name your class, give it a grade level, whatnot. One of the discussions that we had in one of my staff meetings was around what should ed techs do? Should ed techs be creating their own classes? And to me, really, the breakdown isn't so much around whether you're a teacher or an ed tech. I think it matters more about whether you're providing direct instruction to students or not. So if you're providing direct instruction as an ed tech, I would go ahead and create a classroom. If you're a specialist and you're teaching your own classes, I would create a class. If you're not a specialist, I wouldn't worry so much about this option. And if you're actually not going to end up creating a class, you can actually just hit the X from here and close this out. But we're going to go ahead and create one. And I'm just going to name this, we'll just name it Learning Together, since that's kind of the theme of this week here. And then you can choose your grade level. Do you want pre-K, K? I usually select other because I'm working with grades K to 5. So if you're working with multiple grade levels, you can select other, or you can select one of those. It really doesn't make that much of a difference as far as what grade you select. I think mostly it makes a difference in the emails that Seesaw sends to you about different types of activities. It just wants to look and see what your grade level is. So I'm going to select other, but you can select kind of whichever option you want. And then after you do that, then you get that little green check mark there, and I can just hit that, and I can get into my classroom. So, and again, this is pretty, if you're doing this on a computer or you're doing this on a tablet, again, it looks very similar no matter what device you're using, which is a really, good part about Seesaw. So it's not going to look so differently between what you see and what your students might see that it becomes really confusing. So I definitely like that part. So this part here of the screen, we're in the journal part, the journal tab. You have 4 tabs: journal, activities, inbox, and skills. We're going to talk about each of those in a little bit. But stuff that you post on the journal and stuff that students post on the journal appears here. The really magical button in Seesaw is this add button, and there's 3 types of things you can add. We're going to talk about each of those in more detail in a little bit. So that's really important. That's a really important button to have. Again, on this side here, you've got 4 different tabs, so you can see the class journal with your students' work, with the stuff that you're sharing with them. Activities that you create and assign to students show up in the activities tab. The inbox tab is for messages between you and students, as well as you and family members. You can send those there. And then the space below is for if you're exchanging one-on-one messages with parents, that stuff shows up in this part. You also get notifications if someone's completed an assignment, or you get a message or anything like that, that shows up in notifications, just so you're aware of those. And then skills, if you wanted to create a list of different skills for your students that you wanted to track, that you can kind of label the different assignments under, you can do that. So those are those 4 tabs. You also have on the bottom right corner, you have a plus students and a plus family, and we're going to talk about those in a little bit as well, as far as how do we add students into your Seesaw, as well as how do we connect with families. This is kind of a good place to pause for questions if anyone has any questions. After this, we're going to get into actually setting up your class and some of the different settings. But as far as creating your account, or if you have a question about any of those things, go ahead and you can unmute yourself, or again, use the chat box or the Google form on my website. I'm seeing a question here that says, I accidentally signed in with a password before you said don't. Is there a way to delete? That's a good question, and I'm not 100% sure. I might have to get back to you on that. I don't know how that impacts the process of connecting with the paid account. So I'll have to look into that for you. Sorry that I'm not able to answer that question. How do we add an ed tech to our class? Yes, we're going to get to that in just a second. Working with pre-K to 2 families, do children and families need separate accounts, or should they share? That's a really good question as well. So the way that parent accounts work is it's just tied to their email address. So you send them an invitation, and they can sign up. The reason why I would advocate for having parents have their own accounts is because in the regular version of Seesaw, it's set up so that you can see other students in the class. You can't necessarily see their work, but you can see other students in the class. So I wouldn't necessarily want parents to be going through the student side. So I would definitely recommend that they have their own. I think it also impacts how they communicate with you. I think through the parent app is how they would message you if they have any questions, or how you communicate with them. So so you don't have to set up the accounts for parents, though. That is a thing where you send them an invitation, and then they can set up the accounts for themselves. And again, we'll get through to that in just a second here. So any other questions before we move on? Awesome. Okay, so we'll move on to settings. So on my screen right here, and you'll see this as well, you'll see this little wrench right there, and that is where you set up the settings for your class. And each class you set up differently. So each class that you would set up, if you're working with multiple, you would use the wrench to set it up, each one up individually. So I'm going to click on that right now, and we're going to go through and go through these one-on-one. I just saw a question: would parents of kids in separate grades need to have separate accounts for each student? I think once the parents set it up, I think they only need to use one, and then I think they would just log in with the account that they have, so that then they could connect with the with their other child. I think that's how it works. So here's class name. If you ever needed to change your class name, you could just click on that and then change it to something else. Grade level, if you needed to change that as well, if you clicked one by accident, or you decided that you might want to have different grade levels for each of your classes, then you could change that as well. Manage teachers. So for the person who asked about adding an ed tech, this would be where you would go for manage teachers. And then all you really need to do is just type in that teacher's email address and invite, and then they would get an email with that invitation to join your class. So that's how you would do that there. So once you have the class set up the way that you want it, go ahead and invite your ed techs or other teachers if you're going to do kind of a co-teaching arrangement, or however you want to do it within your grade level span or your teaching teams, those kind of things. You can kind of figure that out and then use manage teachers to set it up the way that you want. Class theme is just kind of the color scheme that you have for your Seesaw account, or for your Seesaw class, I should say. This is kind of a good thing to change if you have multiple classrooms. You can change the color scheme so that they're a little bit easier to track. Class icon, so where it says LT right there, just kind of the initials of your class, but you can make an icon out of it. You can, you have all kinds of different picture options that you have. Again, just something to help you and your students keep a little bit better track of the Seesaw classrooms that they're using. Student sign-in mode. This is actually really important for if you're going to use Seesaw in a physical classroom, so the kids are in your space. We're not doing distance learning. At this grade level, you don't need to use email, Google, and also at this level, if we're going to be doing so that each student has a tablet, then I would use the one-to-one devices tab. It just changes a little bit about how the student logs in. But actually they have a home learning mode that they added in. So if you're using that, which I would definitely recommend that you do, it actually kind of overrides what this is here. So I'm going to set mine to one-to-one devices, just because just kind of thinking ahead about when the students do return to school. And I'm just going to confirm the change. So I can go back, manage students. So this is where you can come in and add students. You can paste a list of student names. I actually would recommend holding off on on adding students until the tech people have the pro accounts set up, because they're actually going to be able to tie in student ID numbers and those kind of things. So I think you'll be able to add students that way instead of doing it this way. We want to make sure that we kind of keep things consistent there. So at least for the moment, I would hold off on adding your students. The third option is home learning student codes. So this is, there isn't an option like in student sign-in mode. I saw a question about I don't have home learning mode on mine. It's not a mode you set up, more as it is just the information that you send home to your parents. So this is actually where we would go to do that. So I'm actually going to have, you don't have that option. That is interesting. Yes, and will students be added for us through the tech department, or we need to enter them all in? I'm not 100% sure about how they plan on doing that. I think that you can add them in, but I'm not sure how they're actually going to handle it. So I'm going to hold off on answering that question for now and wait for more guidance from the IT department about how to go forward on that. So again, I'm not 100% sure. If a teacher adds an ed tech to their class, can the ed tech add lessons? I believe so. And should we be making our own accounts today, or should we wait until we get the pro version? You can make your accounts today. There is a process for converting the free account into a paid account. So you can set up an account right now, and you'll be able to convert it over later. So thank you for those questions. Under home learning student codes, so if I go right here, it says when students sign in using their home learning code, they can complete activities, view their journal, and view announcements. Students will not see each other's work. And that's really the important piece here, is we want to make sure that they're not able to see someone else's work. And obviously we don't want parents to be able to do that either, because that can create some FERPA issues and other things. So we definitely want to make sure that we're using that. I'm actually going to just kind of make a student here, just so I can kind of show you what that process looks like. So if I go to home learning student codes, and then I can say print codes or download codes, and then it makes a PDF for you, and it will have the codes for each of your students. And this page in particular, this page you would send home or email home to parents that they have this for signing in. From the student side, I'm going to pull up my iPad view here real quick. So for me to sign in with a student account, I'm just going to press where it says I'm a student. And then if they're using it for their first time, it'll ask them to turn on their camera so that they can scan. But after that, all they need to do is just hold up the camera to that code on the piece of paper. And I even just did it right from my screen, and you'll see that it just logged me right in. So now I'm logged in as my student Bobby to the Learning Together class that I set up. So so again, the QR code makes it really easy to get signed in from the student side. So I'll leave that open for now. But yeah, so these are the codes you want to send home. You can send home other codes, but that makes it so that they can see the other students in the class too. We don't want that. Student likes and comments. So the likes and comments, basically think of it as like Facebook. If you put something in their journal, or they put something in their journal, they can like it, they can comment on it. You can decide whether you have that stuff on or off. So by default, student likes is off, student comments is on, and new comments require approval is also on. So if a student makes a comment with this checked, then you'll get a notification saying there's a comment, and then you have to approve it before anyone can actually see it. Do we know when we're getting the paid version? I don't. Again, I haven't had a chance to talk with the IT folks about it, so so I hopefully will be hearing more from them soon. So student likes and comments, that's that section. If we go back, students can see each other's work. Again, the home learning code overrides this. But if you're going to be using this in your physical classroom with students, you can decide whether you want students to be able to see what other people are doing. And so in that case, with this on, in that journal section, they're going to see what they're posting as well as what other people are posting. So you can turn that on or off. New items require approval, so anything they add to their journal, you have to approve it. You'll get a notification. Enable item editing just means that when they add something to their journal, can they go back and change it or not? Enable sample student just allows you to see things from the student side. So that's kind of in the student section. Enabling family access. So we check that on. This is where you can invite families. And you get this whole thing that says invite families by email or mobile number. You'll see a list of all of your students, and then you can just type in an email address or a phone number to invite them. Or if you would prefer, you can also say print invites. And the cool thing is that they have this in several different languages, which is really cool. If you have some families where English is not their first language, then this is certainly an option for you as well. And then I can print the invites. And then just like with the home learning codes, you get a sheet that you can send home with each family. And again, it gives you a QR code that you could use and instructions for how to get set up. So that's the process of inviting families. When a parent does kind of connect through this, you'll get a notification as well to kind of like approve it. So you have to check for sure, hey, is, making sure you're connecting the right parents with the right kids. So you're not accidentally sharing someone else's, some other kid's work with a different set of parents. So you need to invite families and send a home learning code. So the so these are two different things. So the home learning code is for the student side, is for the students to log in to Seesaw. The invite families is to connect parents to the family app, so that they can see what their students are doing. Obviously, they're going to be able to see it working at home anyway. But this also makes it so that you can message back and forth with parents through Seesaw as well. So they're two separate things. I know. Thank you for asking that question, because it is a little bit confusing. But they're for two separate functions. The home learning codes are for the student to log into Seesaw. Inviting family access is for the parents to use the family app instead. So I hope that answers that question there. You can manage families too. If you make a mistake, you can kind of go in and unconnect those kind of things. So you've got some ability to tweak things. Pending family approval. So again, when the parents go to connect, if you have any that have done so, you can see them here and approve them, just so you can double check to make sure that's the right family information. Family likes, comments, and sharing. So again, works the same way as the student likes, comments, and it just makes it, I found, because in my previous school we had some teachers using this, and the kids just loved it, that their parents were seeing what they were working on and liking and commenting even while school was going on. If they posted something at school, and their parents would comment on it as they were learning, and they were just thrilled to see those. And then family sharing is a piece where if they want to share something that their child did through other channels, then they have that option. I have seen where when this is on, that parents can post something their kid did on Facebook, or some other. They can email it to a relative or something like that. So if you do have this option checked, just be careful about what it is that you're putting into Seesaw and what your kids are putting into Seesaw, so they're not putting other kids' work or other kids' faces or those kind of things. So just be careful of that. So and then enable family likes, just turn that on there, and enable family comments to comments. So very similar as far as what you allow for the students. You have the ability to kind of change those for your family as well. Let's see, what else do we have on here? Manage folders. So obviously, if your students are submitting things to the journal, they're only going to see their work, but you're going to see everybody's. So your journal can fill up really fast. It can be really hard to find stuff. So one of the tools that you have for kind of organizing things is through folders. And I'm going to click right there. Obviously, with a new classroom, I don't have any folders here, but I can create a folder. So you might want to create a folder for each subject, for instance. You may have some other. You may want to do it by unit or something else. I know some teachers that have created different seesaws for different subjects, and then they would create folders for like different projects or units or those kind of things. So you can kind of do it any way you want. Just give it a name. So we can call this math. Give the folder a color. Again, just another organizational tool. And then you can create more folders, or you can delete folders too. You can go back into one you've created and say remove folder, those kind of things. And then this option too, it says show add to folder steps. So when you're creating something, and we'll talk about this in just a few minutes here, you can make it so that no one ever sees the add to folder, or just you see it. So it means that before you can submit it, you'll get one more screen that says, do you want to put this thing in a folder? Or you can say students and teachers, so that the students, when they're doing it, they can also add it to a folder as well. So you've got some options there. Just a few more things real quick, and then we'll open up for some more questions. So I'm gonna skip the blog for now, but and I'm gonna skip skills as well. But save to camera roll. What this means is that on the student device, when they're doing something that involves video, if they're recording a video, this check here just means that when they're done recording it, in addition to being able to upload it into Seesaw, it also saves it to their camera roll on the device. And I actually think that's a really good thing to have, just because sometimes it does happen where they're doing something in Seesaw and for whatever reason, it doesn't go through properly, it doesn't upload or something like that. And this kind of creates a backup for it. So if it doesn't work the first time, you can go through and do it again. And then the last option is video quality. And so that's, how crystal clear you want what students are doing for video to show up on your screen. So medium quality, you've got high quality, and high def quality at 720p. So obviously the higher you go, the higher quality. It also means a larger file, means that if you have students that are doing this on a mobile device, or they're using a mobile hotspot, that means more data that you're using, which might become an issue if you have parents with data caps or something like that. So it is a little bit of a trade-off, that you get quality, but you also get a larger file that might create some data cap issues in the future. So you can choose which one you want it to go to, but just wanted to let you know about that. So so we're going to pause here for questions. And I know there are quite a few that have come through. Provided we are in school, you'd be helping us teach the students how to use this. Yes, absolutely. And one of the things I was talking about in my other staff meeting this morning too is I would be happy to connect with grade level PLCs about how to support not just them, but their students too. So that could also include teaching the students how to use this from home. I definitely would be happy to do all of those things. Because obviously it's going to be a really crucial tool for doing distance learning. But I also think that Seesaw is a really wonderful tool to use in a physical classroom too. And I've seen students do really great things. They seem to be really motivated, knowing that their parents or other relatives are going to see some of that work and can respond to it. It seems to really motivate some of them to up their game in some of their products. And sometimes they kind of use some different theatrics and things which are hilarious. And it's a really, really great tool no matter where you're using it. So yes, to all of the above as far as providing support. Creative practice class was only able to add 2 other teachers of the free version. I had to sign up with the 60-day free trial of the pro version to add more teachers. And it looks like, yes. So again, before we go too far in setting things up, there are a couple of limits that you can hit as far as the free version. So again, you are limited to how many co-teachers you can add. You are limited, I think it's somewhere between 6 or 10 classes, total classes that you can add on the free version. And as far as activities, which we're going to be talking about in a few minutes, that you're limited to, I think it's 100 total activities, which, you know, doesn't sound like a lot, but for distance learning, that might be, that might actually add up pretty quickly. So what I might recommend for now is not to necessarily try to set up everything that you're going to do for a new school year of distance learning, but maybe more so to just focus on setting up maybe one class or part of one class, and then getting comfortable with some of the different features that you can use. So kind of practicing how to post things for students to see from the student side, see what they see, those kind of things. But I wouldn't necessarily go all out for as far as those things. Is there a limit to co-teachers allowed in one class in the pro version? I'm not 100% sure. And I did see the comment that Teresa just sent an email with a couple of Seesaw clarifications. So I will look to read those later. I haven't seen them, but those might answer some of the questions as well. So, but like I said, I would say for now, I would focus on maybe setting up one classroom or setting up a test classroom, maybe making a couple of fake students, and then just kind of practicing those processes of posting activities, posting student work, you know, doing some of the work from the student side, and just thinking about, you know, how all these different things work, how you might explain it to students, those kind of things. I don't think at this point it would make the most sense to try to have absolutely everything together at this time, especially because we know that that things could definitely change between now and then as far as how the new school year is going to look. Any other questions real quick before we move ahead? And again, if you want to ask it on the stream, you can definitely unmute and turn on your camera if you'd like. A few hundred students to create an account for if our classes are not already set up for us. Is there a way to copy it from classroom teachers' Seesaw list or unified classroom? I'm thinking it will take quite a long time to add students and invite parents. That's a good question, Laura. I'm actually not 100% sure. It's been a while since I did it in my previous district, so I'm not sure the process of automating that or making it faster. Oh, great. Teresa's email said Jason Breton will be importing classes. That's awesome. So I guess that would be like another reason for holding off on creating your classes, just because it sounds like that they're going to be able to do that and get that set up for you, which will particularly for your specialists save a ton of time. Absolutely. Perfect. Thank you, Linnell, for posting that. Okay, so I will move on to the next thing. So we're going to talk about adding work and activities. And again, that goes back to this, the most important button in Seesaw is this green button here, that add button. So whenever you go to put something on here for students to see, or from the student side, they also get this green button to post student work, assign activity, those kind of things. So that is a really important green button. We're going to talk first about posting student work, in part because this part actually this looks exactly the same for you as it does for the student. So I'm going to go post student work here, and I'm actually going to go ahead and pop my iPad screen back on real quick, which it just turned off, so I have to reconnect it here. 507. Perfect. So you see that I have an add button as well, and I can go ahead and press that. And again, if you kind of compare, they're exactly the same, which is really cool. So actually, I think I'm going to do this more from the student side. It's going to be easier with some of the camera tools. So we can talk about photos. So this is for taking a picture with your device's camera. So if you have a picture that's like downloaded on your computer and you want to use it, you would actually use the upload function. But if you're going to take a picture with the camera on your device, like right now, you're going to use the photo option. So I'm going to pop photo on here, and you can see there's my desk, there's my keyboard. I'm going to find something random. We're going to take a picture of my microphone. How about that? And you've got these 3 green buttons. So kind of however you're holding your device, it makes it so that you can pretty easily use your thumb to click the shutter. You don't have to press all 3, you just have to press 1. And then it says hold still, and then it takes the picture, and then now you're in kind of a canvas area with a picture that you have on your screen. What I think makes Seesaw really good is that you can upload something, you can take a picture, you can write on something, and then from there, you have all sorts of different ways in which you can annotate and reflect and show your learning, which again, I think is the most powerful thing that students can do on here. This is really good because it's impossible for us, even in the classroom, to know what all students are doing at all times. So having something like Seesaw can kind of give you a window into what students are thinking, even if you can't do it with them live in person, and then use that to kind of figure out, well, how might you teach them differently because there's something that they're not understanding. Let's see. So you've got a couple of different options that you can use here. So on the left side, if you wanted to add a text box, you can just press the T, and then it gives you a little thing here that you can move around. This is a microphone. And then you have a little text box, you can move it around, you can resize it, you can edit it if you need to. You got all kinds of different options. You can add text boxes. The second one is a little microphone. So you can record a reflection if you want, which again, I think is just really cool, particularly for your younger learners. They're probably not be able to handwrite something or type something. So this is where using the microphone would be really good. Would like to access the microphone. Obviously, if you've never used it before on the device, it's going to ask for that. So I'm going to hit OK. So record your voice while creating 3, 2, 1, and go. So I'm just going to start talking. It's recording my voice. This is a microphone, yada, yada, yada. If I am happy with my recording, I can press the done button. If I am not happy with it and want to do it again, I can just hit the X and start it again. Yes, I want to exit the recording because I don't want to have all that talking. So we'll try it again. 3, 2, 1. This is a microphone. I'm going to hit done. And then you can preview. So you can press the play button right here so you can listen back to what you said. This is a microphone. Okay, so if you like that, then you can just go ahead and hit the green check mark in the top right. If you're not, you can re-record and try it again. But for now, I'll say that I'm happy with it, and I'll press the record button. And then that also becomes part of the artifact here. I actually kind of submitted the whole thing, which I didn't necessarily want to do. But the good thing is when you add something to your journal, you can go back and edit it if you leave that setting on. So I'm going to press the 3 dots and then just go edit item. So if I want to add something else to this, I can. Maybe I have to hit the X. Oh, nope, I guess I have to. I guess if you record, that's the only option. It's been a while since I've used all of the tools in here. So why don't we delete and start over? And we'll try a different, we'll go back into photo here. We'll take a different picture of the microphone. There we go. You can add another picture to your picture. You can click on this to add a different picture if you wanted to, or you can add shapes and other things as well. So can go here. If I really want to point out something, let's say if I want to point out this red button, I can add an arrow. And I can make it really obvious. Anything you put on, there's a little color palette on the right side. So you can change the color. Let's make it something that doesn't blend in quite as much with the background. Maybe a yellow is fine. And then I could add a text box. Look at this microphone. And then resize it, put it there. All kinds of different things you can do. And then obviously you've got some drawing tools on the bottom. So right now I've got the move highlight tool, which is the hand with the little box. So if I need to move stuff around, but I have a pencil. So I can write some stuff. I have, I think, a colored pencil. So I can do stuff in color, highlighter, got all kinds of stuff. I got an eraser tool, so I can erase something if I want to. So again, there's a lot of different things you can do with this. It's a really powerful tool. So let's go ahead. I'm actually going to delete this since we already had one put there. We're going to go to drawing. So you got a drawing. Again, you have all your same tools along the bottom for drawing. Make a bunch of squiggles if you want. If you make a mistake with something, there is an undo button right here. So you can go back. You don't have to switch tools and go to the eraser and then switch back. You have that option. You have your same. You can add text. You can add sound. You can add pictures, shapes and backgrounds. These tools are pretty well universal through a lot of what you can post on Seesaw, which is really cool. Video. So again, just like with the photo, if you're going to be taking a video with your camera, you would use this. If you have a video file on your computer that you want to upload, you would use upload file. But here we go. Here's my camera live. I'm gonna hit the record. It's recording right now. You're gonna be able to hear my voice. There's my keyboard. There's my laptop. There's some DVDs. There's a mouse, all kinds of stuff. And I can hit pause. You can record things in chunks, which is really cool. So if you wanted to record this part and then pause and then set something else up and then record that, you can do that as well. And then when you've recorded everything you want to record, then you just hit that green check mark. And then again, you've got the option to explain and reflect. You can add a caption if you want. There's all kinds of stuff that you can do with it. So, so that's video. Let's go back here. Again, upload. So if you have a picture on your computer or a video that's already on your computer, you would upload it through here. This is also where you would upload PDF files. So let's say if you wanted to put a worksheet in Seesaw and have students actually complete the worksheet through Seesaw or explain their thinking for a problem, you could do this option here. So You can add a photo, add a Google Drive, other locations. This actually will look a little bit different on the computer, because you'll get your whatever your generic computer upload thing is. So I go select from computer, then I get my Apple box, or if you're on Chrome, you'll get your Chrome file box, or Windows or whatever. You can also link things on Google Drive if you want. So you've got different options there. Another limit of the free version, just so you know, is in the free version for PDFs, you're only able to annotate PDFs that are one page. So the paid version has more of that ability to do multi-page things. But just so you're aware, if you're kind of practicing things out, that in the free version, it only works on a one-page PDF. It'll look different if you upload something that's multi-page. A note, pretty simple, just a little text note. This actually might be a good tool if you're sharing things with like parents or something like that. You can record your voice to go with it too. So you've got that option. Really, there's so many things you can do in Seesaw. It's pretty amazing. And then link too. So if you have a website that you want students to go on, you can share it through here as well. In the tablet version, for some reason, you have to have the link already copied, and so that it'll just kind of paste it. On the computer version, you don't, but just on the tablet version, you do. So I'll pause for questions here, because that was a lot, and I did see that quite a few comments come through. Let me see if I can catch up here. Can every student see what is being posted in the journal, or does each student have their own? Each student has their own journal. With the home learning mode, they can only see their journal. Their journal also includes stuff that you share with them. So actually, why don't we go ahead and post something really quickly here, because there's another piece of this where actually, hold on, let me do this. I'm gonna do it from the teacher side. So when you as the teacher post something, you can actually choose, do you want to share this with all students, or do you want to share this with individual students? So you can kind of choose, like if you're posting something you only want one student to see, you can check that. But yeah, so in home learning mode, students can see their journal and only their journal, which also includes anything that you put in their journal. In the regular mode, and I'll go back here to this right here. This is where you would kind of determine whether they can see other people's journals or not. That's that setting right there. So just so you know about that. With the paid version, the save as draft. The save as draft option is relatively new, so it may not be, I don't know if it's accessible. I did notice that I wasn't able to see the draft option from the student side, but I was from the teacher side, so that was interesting. Would there be an option for parents to have on a training on Seesaw? Lindsay, that's a really good question, and I've been thinking about, and I know that we've had some conversation, that the tech teachers as well as Teresa, about what parent support might look like. So what I would say to that is, I hope that becomes an option. I think we're going to be, or at least I hope to be, reaching out to kind of get a sense of how that best would look as far as providing support for parents, because I think that's absolutely crucial. That parents, teachers, and students all need to be supported in this. So I don't have a definitive answer right now as to what that looks like, but I know that, at least for me personally, it's a goal that, yes, all that we'd have the option for teachers to have training. If we set up practice and did not transfer it to paid version, would we then have a new beginning, so to speak? I think when you transfer to a paid account, I think it transfers everything you have set up already. So I mean, it's a new beginning in the sense that you can go and create a new class or anything at any time. So actually, I don't think I showed that. So let me do that right now. If you go to the wrench, all the way at the bottom, you can archive the class. So if you do that, then that kind of goes away. You can bring it back later on, but at least it makes it go away. And then you can also, where your name is in the top left corner, you can create a new class. So that might be what I would do. I wouldn't worry too much about anything that you're doing in Seesaw now having any bearing on what it's going to look like in the paid version, because again, if you've got something that you're just kind of messing around with, when you're done, you can just archive it, and then it just kind of goes away and you don't have to worry about it. Like I said, I think for now, until everything paid is set up, to really just use this more to kind of practice and get comfortable with it. And, certainly, figure out what questions you have, ask me, get in contact with me, anything along those lines. I saw another question here and I missed it. We can't go live with this platform, right? We still need, yes. So this is not a video chat platform like Zoom or Google Meet. So if you're looking to connect with students and parents live, then yes, you still need those platforms. It does not substitute for one of those. So thank you for asking that. I knew I missed that question somewhere. We only have a few minutes left, and I didn't have as much time to talk about the activities library. I think actually I'm going to kind of stop here because the activities library is it's kind of a labyrinth in a sense. But what I will direct you towards, because I know that Victoria Ballou did a video, a pre-recorded video on the activities library, and it's really good. She did a great job explaining. She probably actually would do a way better job than I would right now explaining it. So I'm just going to show you that on my website, and again, all this stuff will stay here, and the archive of the video will show up here, and all those things. That I've included her videos. So there's a link, her intro video, setting up your Seesaw class, the activity library. That those are all there for you to help as well. And certainly, if you need anything from me to get in touch, I can try to help you as best as I can. Again, Seesaw website, all the different apps. So if you're on iOS, you have an iPad, Seesaw Class, Seesaw Family. If you're on an Android device, Seesaw Class, Seesaw Family. If you're on a Chromebook, you don't need to add an app, but there is an app for just the class. And then the Reflect and Seesaw extension, which I didn't get to talk about either. And I don't know that it would really apply so much as if our students are going to have tablets. I will actually discuss this in my session on Thursday about screen recording and screen capturing tools. But this is another tool that can allow you to capture a photo of something on your screen and then pull it right into Seesaw to annotate and comment. Seesaw icon shortcuts. This goes with the activities library, but one of the things that you can do, and maybe I can pull up an activity here. I'm just going to go to, I'm going to go to activities. I'm just going to go assign activity. And you get your library, so you can create activities, but you can also pull. There's a huge community, and there's a lot of people that are really active on social media who are using Seesaw that provide all kinds of really great tools. So yeah, so this was one I was looking at last week. So if you notice in the instructions that it says click add response, but it doesn't actually have just the text add response. They actually created the button. This is actually the button that the students would press what it would look like. And so there's a cheat sheet that I have right here to show you how to create all those buttons. If you scroll down, you can see that you've got all your different annotation, commenting tools, those kind of things, and what you would type for them to show up in the activity. Just really handy. Abby McLaughlin, she's a teacher, I think, at Green. She has a training actually later on this afternoon. So if you're looking for more training on that, that's available this afternoon. Again, we talked about Victoria Ballou's videos. Again, they're fantastic. She did a great job. Definitely check those out. If you haven't been following the DOE content meetings, there's still a whole bunch of those going on. I think they might be doing one on Seesaw at some point, or maybe they've already done one on Seesaw, so you can check that out. And then professional development, they've got, Seesaw has a whole page on different things you can watch. They have different sessions you can register for. They have recordings of everything as well.